we have this field called de-extinction.
We are correcting our intervention in nature.
Absolutely mission critical.
Good morning, everybody. How we doing?
Doing great.
So I'm actually really excited to be here this morning of what I think arguably may be one of the most unique and inspiring stories that we'll all get to hear over these couple of days of this incredible conference. I met Ben about 4.5 years or so ago. I was introduced to him as this tech founder, very successful, had done a number of startup companies, and he had a new idea. And his new idea is that he was going to bring back extinct animals, and in particular, the woolly mammoth. And I thought, well, that's just insane.
Yeah. I don't know if our first call went that great. But.
Yes, in fact, our first call, I think I got off of, and I went, I don't get this. I really don't understand.
Like, so, please never put him on my calendar again.
Yeah. So here we are 4.5 years later, and honestly, what he has done and is doing is quite unique and quite brilliant, and I think of enormous import for our planet. So Ben, if you would, maybe just start off with what motivated, why did you decide to pursue this idea of de-extinction of animals?
Well, I met this guy named George Church, who's arguably the father of synthetic biology. He's the head of genetics at Harvard. He had invented a lot of the read-write technologies that are now kind of like taking over the world when it comes to genome engineering. And he taught me that in my first call with him, he inspired me that we have all the tools and technologies that are needed to actually make this possible, number one. But number two, he also shared with me that we are kind of at this critical inflection point for biodiversity and how we're going to lose up to 50% of all biodiversity in the next 25 years if we don't do anything about it. And this was an interesting way that we could help biodiversity, create technologies for human healthcare, and maybe even inspire the next generation. And I left that call as being an entrepreneur, and I'm sure other entrepreneurs in this room have made the statement as like, oh, I want to change the world. I want to make an impact, right? But most companies get bought or fail or whatnot. And what's interesting was that this was a true opportunity to change the world. So I felt as an entrepreneur who had said that 1,000 times in pitch meetings, that if I didn't go pursue this, I would be a hypocrite. Like, this was an opportunity that the universe and George presented to me to, go try to change the world. And so I was pretty hooked from day one.
Yeah, but here's the thing, which is you're not a scientist. You don't actually have any background in that. So what hooked you into that? I mean, I understand the ambition of the idea, and that would drive you to it. But what made you wake up one morning and go, I can do this? You actually don't know anything about it.
But I think that childlike wonder helped me, right? Because I'm insatiably curious. I love technology. I love the next frontier. But I don't know anything about biology. So it allowed me to ask the right questions. I'm really good, though, about building teams of much smarter women and men than me. And so what was exciting and alluring to this is it's a systems model, right? And so if we got it right, just like satellites or just like software, we just had to build the system, and then we had to put the smartest people on the bus to go drive it. And so I got very attracted to, I had those skills, right? I was like, I can hire, I can raise capital, I can make sure that I unify and kind of break down rules. I sometimes joke the hardest thing we've done at Colossal is not the direwolf. It's actually reprogramming scientists to work in like Jira and software tools. But we made a lot of progress, and I think those were the kind of skills that I brought. But it was just this sense of wonder. And what's interesting is that this sense of wonder from these projects, it wasn't just in me. I quickly found that investors, press, friends, and kids and parents had that same sense of wonder in this project. So I really felt like it was a unifying humanity project from the get-go.
So for 25 years, I had a really amazing partnership with probably arguably the greatest storyteller of our time, which is Steven Spielberg. And he got drawn in the imagination through Michael Crichton of making this movie Jurassic Park, which went on to create these incredible. So his was, sort of fantasy, and I'm just curious. Why did you think achieving this in reality would matter to mankind? How is this going? What is it going to mean to all of us when you are successful? Notice I didn't say if you are.
No, I love that.
I said when you are successful. Why is this going to matter to us? Why should we care?
And we've had some early proof points, so I think directionally we're on the right track right now. I think that we as humanity need moonshots, right? I think that everybody for a long time looked to NASA as like the global moonshot, right? Regardless of what geopolitics were, I think the best brand the United States ever made was NASA. And so I think that we need that, and I think we need that in many categories, right? Like whether it's communicating like with animals like you guys just heard about, or whether it's like reaching for the stars, or whether it's being able to truly bring back extinct species and control biology and directed evolution. I think these are those moonshots that inspire us, that the halo effects of the work are almost as powerful as the actual technologies themselves. And so I think that in our success, we have no idea of what little girl or little boy may end up achieving in terms of like curing cancer or whatever, because they got excited about biology. And that's one of the biggest drivers for me, is that kids are so inspired by this project that they want to lean in and tell their parents. Actually, 30% of all of our investors came to us because their kids told them about the project. So it's amazing for me.
Yeah. So your ambition here in terms of what this will mean for us is much more than just bringing back extinct animals. Yes, that is a sort of bigger than life fantasy brought to reality, but what does this mean if you actually look in beyond bringing back extinct animals? What does it mean for the world we live in today? For you to succeed at this, what is the larger outcome?
So larger outcome outside of inspiring youth and bring back extinct species is actually the direct application of conservation. So we're going to lose up to 50% of all biodiversity in the next 25 years. It's an existential crisis. And so these technologies, like on the path to bring back the mammoth, on the path to bring back the dodo, can be directly applied to animals now. So in a very short period of time, we've already built vaccines and other technologies which are already being applied today in conservation. So we have about 75 global conservation partners. We raised $100 million for our foundation to support those conservation initiatives. And I'm very excited to say that the #1 killer of elephants is not poaching. It's actually a terrible disease called EEHV. People had worked on it for a long time, but now with us and our technology and our funding and support, we were able to develop a vaccine, and it's already being administered to elephants and conferring resistance. That one single innovation will save more elephants than all of elephant conservation that we've done for all of history. And so those are the direct applications that we are getting today for conservation from this work.
So I think it's important for everybody to understand here that these sort of epic media moments, if we can, which are getting people's attention, is on the cover of Time magazine, is on 60 Minutes. We're here talking about it at this conference. It gets your attention, but the real value proposition here is something much more ambitious, and the outcomes that will come out of that, I think, have enormous value and implication. Talk about Noah's Ark, if you will.
So
Noah's Ark 2.
Noah's Ark 2.0, right? We were very fortunate to work with the Dubai government in the UAE and Sheikh Hamdan and his team to work on this concept of a biovault, right? Because there hasn't been the equivalent in the same efforts in preserving species for scale like there has been with the seed vault. And so one of the concepts that we have at Colossal is not just de-extinction, but also species preservation. So the idea that we can go build a distributed network of biovaults where we can actually preserve cells, tissue samples, egg and sperm, embryos and whatnot, not just of one species, so not just like 2 by 2 like with Noah's Ark, but as many as we can get, and we can also do all the genetics and understand genetic diversity so that you can understand bottleneck. We can build a backup plan, right, for conservation, for science, and the sad story though is that while we're losing species, conservation does work. It just doesn't work at the speed of which we're eradicating species, right? And so we need a backup plan. And so this idea that we could build this distributed biovault network and launch it here in Dubai and in partnership with the Museum of the Future was something that was very, very exciting, because it's also not going to be just some weird biovault that's in the corner that no one hears about except a couple of elite scientists or conservationists. We're wrapping an educational experience around it because we want to bring kids in and parents in and make them citizen scientists for conservation, but while also kind of having that to be the gateway to talk about, genetics and other things.
Right. So again, maybe just a little bit more insight into, is this just a big refrigerator? Like what is a biovault?
So it does have large cold storage and cryopreservation, including liquid nitrogen and others, but it also has the cell lab, right? We're actually not just freezing cells, but we're creating immortalization for the cells and whatnot. It also has a genomic sequencing core, a data core, right? And I won't pick on anyone, but the GLP-1 craze that went out there and has created a $1 trillion market, that came from studying a non-model species. And so much of pharma and biotech is studying individual, mice and pigs and non-human primates, but not enough work is going into studying these non-model species, these things that aren't in the lab. But some of the biggest breakthroughs can come from that. Like elephants don't really get cancer, right? Birds have a much better immune system than us. Gila monsters, this little venomous lizard, created the entire Ozempic craze, right? And so if we lose those species, those are huge applications to human healthcare even, that if we lose them, we never knew that they had them, right? So it kind of has a dual purpose of preserving what's here and ensuring that we have a safe backup plan. But number two, it also gives us a way to do data modeling on how that could be applicable to human healthcare and some of the things that we can learn from nature if we just don't eradicate it.
Great. So a little bit of a pivot here. There's obviously genetically inside of you a little bit of P.T. Barnum. You are a showman, and I have watched, and I would love you to share with the audience a little bit about how you've thought about, how you've rolled this out. I mean, first you brought back an extinct mouse and rolled that out and blew up the internet. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So our first woolly mouse wasn't extinct. It was an engineered animal, and we were very, very excited about it. Chip and Dale were our first two woolly mice. And why we were excited about it is it takes 22 months to gestate an elephant. And so if you're making these edits in an Asian elephant cell from mammoth DNA for hair, which is like the most commonly known physical attribute or phenotype, you can wait 22 months. You can also create stem cells and grow hair organoids in a lab and look, it's a little creepy, but you can do it. We've done it. I wouldn't show it to the public because it's a little weird, like cells growing hair. It's not for everybody. But we also, so they are living cells, but it's not a full functional animal. And so what we did was we took our AI models, and there's about 200 million years of genetic divergence between mice and elephants. And so we actually identified within 1 month all of the genes that were the specifics to the mouse equivalent to the mammoth edits that we had already made. We put those in, and 1 month later we had our birth woolly mice, which showed all of the phenotypes or physical attributes that we were attempting for the mammoth, number one. But number two, all the animals that were born 100% healthy, which was amazing. And then number three, the entire system worked within 30 days. And I think that's super important because at the time, that was the most genetically modified multicellular organism on the planet, only to be beaten eventually by the direwolf.
So are you saying that in 30 days you can give me a head of hair?
Yeah. So all human healthcare projects go outside of Colossal because we don't want people saying, wait, Colossal came out with like a hair solution. They're like, is that mammoth hair? Yeah. We don't need more weirdness about us.
You don't think I'd look good with mammoth hair?
I think you look great with mammoth hair. we just don't want to be we don't be the chimera.
All right, so tell us then what the next one out for you was the direwolf.
Yeah, I remember sitting at South by Southwest with Joe on stage, and we were talking, and those cute little mice, which are objectively cute, broke the internet, and I was like, oh, and everyone was like, I thought people would be like, this is a technology first, they are scaling the technology, they're being thoughtful about animal welfare, and I thought it just kind of passed, but it like caught the world by fire. People were making fake woolly mice T-shirts. There was actually pillows that were like legalized woolly mice. Like they're not illegal. I don't even know why people made that, but people were like selling bootleg stuff on us, which was cool. And I remember sitting there saying, in 30 days we're going to tell the world about the direwolves, and they're losing their minds over these mice, right? And so we announced the direwolves, right? So we created 3 direwolves. We took a 73,000-year-old skull in a 12,000-year-old tooth, did all the computational analysis, and we made puppies. But think about that for a second. We took a 73,000-year-old skull and made puppies. And we made 2 boys, Romulus and Remus, and then a girl, Khaleesi. A lot of fans of Game of Thrones informed us that the direwolves were House Stark and not House Targaryen, and how we made a terrible mistake with the naming. And so we got a lot of feedback. We were trying to be nice. But it created this pop culture moment. And what was interesting to your point on showmanship and entertainment was some of the ways that we think about these projects are how they impact the ecosystems, how they can help conservation, but how we can bring the public in, right? Many people, including several people on the Game of Thrones cast, I won't name names, believe that direwolves were mythical creatures, right? And so if you can bring back an extinct species that has an application to conservation and do it in a fun and interesting way that's healthy for the animal, but you can then bring all of these people into science, why not? And we showed it, I remember showing it to George R. R. Martin, and he literally cried the first time he saw it. And he goes, is that what I think it is? And to have that emotional response to then bring people to science and conservation, that's core quest line for us.
So I understand that you made Tom Brady, Paris Hilton, and Mr. Beast cry also. Want to explain that?
They all reached out to us, let's be clear. So we are not actively pursuing them. We are not as connected in that world as you are. And what's interesting is like Tom became, I'm not a big sports guy, sorry, but I'm just not. And
you have to be under a rock to not know Tom Brady.
I know. I'm not a complete moron, so I know who Tom Brady is. But at the same time, so Tom reached out because his kids told him about it, right? Which is crazy. Mr. Beast reached out because he said, this is the coolest thing ever. It's perfect for my audience, right? And so we really have had this influx of people that have been interested in leaning in and help tell our story to that next generation because they care about the conservation and the science applications.
So looking ahead, in literally less than a handful of years, in a few years, we are going to have a woolly mammoth.
Yes, 100%.
100%.
No
we're going to have a woolly mammoth. So what does that mean for nature, for mankind, for Colossal?
I think that the way I look at it, and I may be closer to it than others, but I really think of it as kind of like the moon landing for biology. I do. I think that hopefully it's an event that all humanity can come together. We work with 17 academic labs across the world. We fund 80 postdocs in academic labs. We work with numerous governments, right? And so hopefully, we take samples from Russia and Canada and everywhere, right? So we think this really transcends geopolitics and boundaries. I really hope that it is that moon landing moment for biology, and people see what is possible when all these people come together and all these scientists and AI models and engineers come together to have one common goal. I really hope we have that moment. And I think we will, right? And then I hope it inspires, kind of like how SpaceX has inspired so many people that want to go in to be engineers, right? I hope that we do the same thing for geneticists and conservationists.
So last question, which is if we go 10 years from now, maybe even 20 years from now, what's the dream? What has Colossal achieved, and how has it changed the course of this planet that we're on and nature and our relationship with nature?
Yeah, I think if we go 20 years ahead, I hope we have successfully delivered on all of our promises for the extinct species and successfully rewilded them back into their natural habitats with government and indigenous people and the public at large support, number one. Number two, I hope we have a distributed network of biovaults that have backed up all critically endangered and all keystone species around the world. And then number three, I hope we get a little bit further on our artificial womb work, so we have a production system where we can engineer in lost genetic diversity and productionize endangered species development and have a world of abundance of animal life through technology.
Ben Lamm, a real visionary doing something that literally will change the world. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate you.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. My name is Majid Mansouri. I'm the executive director of the museum, and we have one more thing. We want to bring back Ben. Please come back to the stage. So for those of you who have been here yesterday, we had a experience of the Museum of the Future.
Which is amazing.
Thank you, and we worked together on it for quite some time. Very excited. We hope you visit. There's a very big mammoth structure. I hope you don't miss. But maybe, Ben, you want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, right? As I mentioned on stage with Jeffrey, this idea of a biovault as a Noah's Ark 2.0, as he called it, and doing it here in Dubai is something that we're incredibly passionate about, right? We really do need a backup plan for life. And our vision is to not just do that, as I mentioned, in kind of some cold, dark corner, but to do it in a way where we can actually wrap educational content around it, make it a living lab, right? And so it's a combination of museum and experience, educational content. It is this secure biovault for the world and the core hub, the core hub for this spoke model that we're putting together. But then also, working with Majid and team, making it a living lab so that we can actually be doing conservation work here in the UAE to start, and then in through North Africa and beyond.
And His Highness Sheikh Hamdan Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum announced yesterday on X that we'll have a permanent biovault at the museum. It's the first of its kind biovault in the world. And our focus is to get as much endangered species from the region biobanked at the museum. His Highness' vision of the museum is that it's a living lab. So we're very excited about that.
And it's also really one of the reasons why we thought that announcing it here at the World Government Summit was because all of you can play a very valuable role in working with your governments, and we can help train and support and build capabilities for species protection and biovault, and then leverage this shared resource that the UAE was so gracious in investing in and starting to build with us. But that's why this World Government Summit to us is so important, because you all have so much incredible biodiversity. We're starting here in UAE in the Arabian Peninsula, but then want to quickly expand out. And so we'd love to have conversations with you guys to figure out how we can help preserve your species just as a backup plan, and then also learn more about the health and the genetic diversity of your species.
And when can we have it in the museum?
So I want to have it in 2027 or sooner. What?
Okay, I mean, in the UAE, everything is possible, so we'll definitely make it happen.
Awesome. So 2027, we'll open the first biovault here in Dubai.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.